be talk about is the assignment 2. So some of you may be nervous about that, but yeah, no worries about it. Okay. 好，咁我哋今日就係會最後一堂講 Excel 嘅，咁嗰個 schedule 上咧就應該比較輕鬆啲啦，咁我可以講慢少少啦，同埋就如無意外應該可以各位同學早啲放學嘅，咁啊如果覺得陽光普照出去行個圈嘅，咁應該放咗學之後都可以有興趣就可以自己出去行個圈啦，咁應該會比想像中快嘅 ，OK， 咁我哋就咁樣去講啦。咁我講下嚟緊嘅 schedule 先，咁我今日就做最後一堂嘅關於 lab section 啦，咁啊 lab 3啦。之後咧，我哋會做嘅係有一個嘅下堂就 revision class 啦，我會 one access 同埋 one Excel 嘅。再之後咧就真係 assignment 2啦，咁啊都係咁樣嘅狀態啦。OK， 有咩問題都係嗰句舉手問，或者堂後喺問都得，或者如果係 online 嘅 student 嘅話咧，就可以喺 chat room 度打，咁我見到 message 會覆你嘅。Okay, so today we are going to talk about these things. First, we have the formulas for joining of cells. And the second one, we will talk about different types of cell reference. So the ones we've learned before is called the relative addressing, but there is another thing called the absolute addressing and also the mixed addressing. We will do some demonstration here to demonstrate to you what is the difference between those. And then we also have the if function for us to make decisions. And we will be in exercise 6, we'll use this if functions to do one of the cells there as well, okay? So I will also do this tracing formulas with you, and we'll do the demonstration here. So if you're interested, you may want to have a look there. But yeah, okay, so let's get started. 好，咁我先做就係講呢個嘅呢個 joining of cells. So it's to remind you that for the formulas, actually for all the formulas, because like from our maths class or from our other types of class, we often associate that the formulas are all about numerical things. However, for textual things, we also have some formula designed to merge the textual things as well. So for example, if I want to see this word, okay, so let's say I want to display A1, B1 in this J1 cell, then I can use the ampersand or the concatenation operator to indicate so. 好啦，咁點解要講下呢個叫 joining of cell 嘅東西咧？雖然話 exercise 6咧係唔會用到嘅，不過之前我哋有 past paper 咧係問到啲同學點樣去用 concat 啦，咁所以我哋咧都喺堂上面都希望教到同學點樣去寫 concatenation 嘅 formula 嘅。咁個方法咧其實就係咧我哋都好似平時咁加減乘除嗰啲咁樣啦，不過今次我哋唔係用加減乘除，今次我用一隻叫做 concatenation operator， 其實即係個 and 嘅符號啊 ampersand。So we use the concatenation operator, which is the ampersand, to represent that I want to merge these two cells, the contents together, and display in the first cell. So for example, I want to display A1, B1 in cell J1. So I want to type in equal sign, and then I type in A1. And I will type in also a B1. But in between A1 and B1, I will use the ampersand operator. I will use the ampersand, which is the what we call the concatenation operator. 我呢個 formula 上面咧，我 in case 同學可能睇唔到啦，咁我會喺呢度上面打清楚少少嘅。咁我做嘅咧就係打咗個咁樣嘅符號啦，等於就係所有 formula 開始一定要有嘅嘢啦。跟住就係 A1，跟住就係一個 and 嘅符號 ，and 係代表將兩個 content merge 埋一齊，然後 display， 咁然後加埋 B1啦，咁樣我哋就寫咗呢一個 formula 啦。So we type in equal sign and then A1 and then ampersand B1 in the cell J1. Afterwards, then you can see that in our J1 cell, now it displays A1, B1, which is just from here. Okay? 我用呢個表係俾大家睇，即係點樣去 display 清楚啲咁解啫。咁我其實每個咁樣而家呢度見到咧就係 A1、B1 咧就喺 J1 呢度 display 咗啦。咁其實上面嘅 formula 咧我就係咁打啫，只不過將佢 A1 同 B1 中間加咗一個 and 我有一個加咗個 concatenation operator 落去嘅啫。Okay, but there is other cases where we want to put other things in between as well. In those cases, you will want to wrap those things with the double quotation mark. Just like what we have done in SS exercises, we want to wrap those with the double quotation mark and then put inside there. And we also use the concatenation operator to join them together. 好啦，如果你話有啲 case 我哋唔係想係攞某個 cell reference， 可能或者除咗 cell reference 之外，我哋仲想用一啲特別嘅字，可能我想中間加 hyphen 啊，或者我中間加其他嘢啊咁樣，咁我點樣去喺呢度 display 出嚟咧？方法就係假設如果你話我想中間加 hyphen 咁先算啦，咁我做嘅係 攞一個 hyphen 出嚟，然後將佢用 double quotation mark 包住佢。So I want to wrap the hyphen with the double quotation mark, and then I want to join. I will put inside the formula there as well, and I have to join them together in between the cell references and between the strings. Then I want to use the concatenation operator to join them together. So it looks something like this. So again, I will do this once more in case you have like difficulty understanding what I'm doing here. So I want to type A1, and because I want it to start with A1, and then I want hyphen. So I first type the concatenation operator, and then I type the hyphen. But for the hyphen, I will have to wrap it with the double quotation mark. So it looks something like this. And then I want to merge B1 together with it as well. So I also add in a concatenation operator, and then I type B1. And this is the formula that I'll put in here in J1. As you can see that the result is now A1 hyphen B1. 好啦，咁呢個做嘅總之就係咧，我哋所有嗰啲 style reference 啊，或者所謂嗰啲 string 啊，我哋 string 就要用個 double quotation mark 包住佢啦。跟住總之就喺全部嗰啲咁嘅 cell 啊，或者嗰啲 string 中間度咧，我哋全部加上個 and 嘅符號落去咧，其實就會 merge 埋一齊，然後就 display 個 cell 度啦。其實就係呢個部分咁大段 paragraph 想話俾大家聽嘅樣嘢啦。咁所以下次如果你話有同學可能要做一啲咁樣嘅嘢，可能全部幾個 string 連埋一齊，中間可能要加 hyphen 啊、加 space 啊、加咩嘢啊，咁你識點做咯喎？就係呢個 concatenation operator。你就想象好似加號咁啊，不過就好似啲 string 黐埋一齊咁樣嘅，好似膠水黐埋一齊啲嘢咁嘅。咁呢個就係 concatenation operator 就係個 and 嘅符號啦。OK， so any questions here？ 有冇問題關於點樣去 join 一個 cell 呢樣嘢？ O 唔 OK？ Okay, so if there are no further questions, I will go on to the next part where we talk about the relative addressing and absolute addressing. We have not learned actually anything about what is meant by absolute addressing. We have just learned about relative addressing. And let's do a little recap here. 好啦，我哋發覺其實一直咧，我哋冇教過同學咧乜嘢叫做 absolute addressing 嘅。咁啊，同學如果你有即係你睇得到個 screen 就睇啦，咁唔使學我咁打嘅，咁你見得到我做咁就 OK 噶啦。So I'll do the original ones that we have just learned. We have learned from previous classes. So this one is called the. So I type in something like this equals A1 in this cell. Sorry. 咁呢個 cell 裏面我打咗嘅就係等於 A1 啦。我呢度用紅色嘅寫出嚟，只不過等大家睇得清楚啲咁解啫。咁我而家做咧就係打完等於 A1 之後咧，我就咁樣 copy and paste， 即係 drag and drop 咁樣啦。So I'll drag and drop and see what happens. So as you can see here, when I drag and drop this thing equals A1, it will move accordingly. So like here, it will become D, it will become C, E, and then when I move on here, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one is called the relative addressing. 呢個我之前學過嘅，呢款叫 relative addressing 嘅東西。Relative addressing 即係話，當你喺度 drag and drop， 無論你係 across columns 或者係 across rows 都好，就會發覺，咦嗰個數字嗰個 row 咧就會跟住去 update 嘅，個 column 咧都會跟住 update 嘅。如果我 drag across columns 嘅話，咁呢個咧就係叫做 relative addressing. Okay, so let's think about what is meant by. So let's try to do this here. We use a thing called the absolute addressing. 咁我試下咧做呢個叫 absolute addressing， 睇下咩事咯喎。So just like before, now I want to type in this here. 好啦，今次我哋試下一隻叫 absolute addressing. So how do you use absolute addressing? You type in both $sign just before the column name and also in front of the row number. And this is called the absolute addressing. 打 absolute addressing 嘅方法就係咁樣打，即係打等於符號啦，好似而家你見到呢個 cell display 咁樣啦，就係等於跟住之前就咁打 A1 啦，不過而家咧喺 A 前面加個錢嘅符號，一前面都加一個錢嘅符號。So this is something that looks like this, equal $sign A, $sign 1. And then from there, let's try to also can copy and paste and see what happens. 跟住我哋試下咧，就都係做翻呢個咁樣嘅 copy and paste 嘅動作啦。咦，跟住發覺，咦，今次我哋 copy and paste 完之後咧， 原來全部都會變咗 A1，佢就好似 freeze 咗喺嗰個位置咁。無論我係 drag across columns 又好，或者 drag across rows 都好咧，佢都係 stay 喺 A1 個格度嘅。呢個咧就係 absolute addressing 嘅特點啦。So when you use the absolute addressing, then when you drag across the columns or when you drag across the rows, it will still stay at the same position. And this is meant by absolute addressing. This one, as you can see, equal sign dollar. So this dollar thing is referring that I want to freeze both the columns and also freeze the rows there. OK， 即係好似你想象下就係加咗落去嗰個row 前面咁樣啦。咁無論我點 drag across rows 咧，佢一定喺嗰行度。如果加喺嗰個 column 前面咧，咁就係無論我點 drag across column 咧，都一定喺嗰個 column 度，就咁解啫。So of course there is also these things called the mixed。咁仲有啲咧係兩邊 merge 埋一齊叫 mixed 嘅東西嘅。So I'll try the first one. This one is called the mixed relative plus absolute. You can see that in this case, I only have the dollar sign in front of the row number. 呢個情況我見到，咦，原來淨係嗰個 row 嗱 B 淺16，即係話淨係得 row number 前面有個淺符號喎。咁點樣嘅咧？我試下咯喎。So let's try to type in this here. This one, A dollar sign 1. So you should type something like this, equal sign, and then A, and then dollar sign 1. In this case, you can see that because I've frozen the row number, when I drag it across row numbers, it will not update automatically. It will freeze at row 1. But when I drag it across the columns, because I have not frozen the column here, so therefore it remains at the column A. 咁你見到原來我而家 drag across columns 咧，你見到咦原來我冇，因為我喺個 A 前面冇加到淺符咧，所以佢就會當我喺咁樣拉過 column 嘅時候咧，佢就會跟住 update 啦。咁呢個咧就係等於 A 淺1呢隻叫做 mixed reference， 就係 relative 加 absolute。So let's also try the last type. This one is mixed, but this one is absolute plus relative. So in this case, I want to type equal sign and then dollar sign A1。今次我哋就會打等於淺 A1。淺 A1 即係咩意思咧？即係話淨係喺嗰個 column 前面有淺符號 ，row number 前面冇淺符號，呢隻叫做呢款 absolute plus relative。So I'll type it here. Oops, sorry. And when I drag across the rows and the columns, this is what we expect to see. So it looks something like this. When I drag across the when I drag across the the columns, it remains the same. But when I drag it across the rows, it will get updated automatically because the rows only we have got the dollar sign in front of the columns. So therefore, when I drag across the columns, it will be frozen at the same point. But when I drag across the rows, because I don't have the dollar sign in front of the rows, so therefore it will update automatically. Okay. So we have just gone through 4 types of these things here. I know it's pretty small. 好啦，今次我哋其實咧就已經講咗我哋4款唔同 address 嘅方法。This one, the normal ones, is the ones that we have learned before. This equals A1 thing. This is the relative addressing. 呢個就係我一開始就咁學嘅，就咁等於 cell 個地址嗰個啦。呢隻叫 relative addressing。你見到 drag across rows、drag across columns 咧，跟住喐嘅。等於淺 A 等淺1呢隻叫做 absolute addressing， 就係無論你係 drag across rows、drag across columns 啦，都係會唔喐嘅。呢隻叫 absolute addressing 啦。淨係加個淺落去個 row 嗰度嘅呢隻叫做 mixed 嘅 relative plus absolute。而淨係加個淺嘅符喺嗰個 column 名前面嗰隻呢隻叫做 mixed absolute plus relative。So we have 4 cases of cell reference here, and you can later on when we do the exercise 6 together, you will know which one we should use here. OK， 一陣間我哋會做 exercise 6嘅，咁 exercise 6裏面咧，我哋會有講到呢一款嘅，我哋一陣間再講下即係應該用邊一隻啦。咁我哋一陣間再講咯喎。咁我哋就講如果冇問題啦，我哋就落下一個 step 啦，就講 the third one. So we will do talk about the third one here. We will also type the if formula together in exercise 6, but for now, try to understand this first. 一陣間我哋會喺做個 exercise 嘅時候咧，都會有機會咧接觸到呢一樣嘢嘅。不過一陣間我哋再詳細講啦。咁我而家先解釋下呢個係乜嘢嚟先。There are some cases when you want to do the if, we want to use the if function to help us because there are some cases where you want to do something differently depending on whether it's true or whether it's not true. So for example, if I want to see that, okay, if the A1, so let's try to break this one down. For if statement, there are three portions. The first part is the test. The second part is the value if it's true. And the third one is the value if it is false. So for example, if I type in something like if A1 is larger than 0, then I can return yes, or otherwise it will become no. And this is a simple if functions that you can use. Remember, for all the things that, because these are textual things, we should wrap those with a double quotation mark, okay? Just like what we have done in SS for the between and those kind of things. 好啦，我哋呢個 formula 裏面咧，第一個 portion 咧就係話佢當Excel 見得到 if 嘅時候咧，佢就會睇下第一個嘢啱唔啱嘅。就話呢個 case 佢睇究竟 A1 個數字係咪大過0啊？係喎，咁佢就會 return yes 俾你。如果唔係，佢就會 return 第三格嗰嚿嘢就係 no 俾你啦。咁呢個就係睇佢第一格係乜嘢啦。第一格係 true 就變咗第二格啦。如果呢個係 false 就變咗第三格啦。咁樣就係咁樣嘅。記住，所有呢啲 formula， 如果我哋係要 display 一啲字類嘅東西，一定係要用個 double quotation mark， 一定有雙引號包住佢嘅。For all the textual things in the formula, we must wrap those with a double quotation mark. This is very important. If you just type something like this without the double quotation mark, then this will be returned with error. So it will return something wrong. 如果你唔加個等號，唔加嗰個嘅sorry 呢度加，你會見到出 error 嘅，佢唔係要你，即係佢出唔到 result 出嚟嘅。如果你唔加個引號嘅話 ，if you don't add the double quotation mark, it will not work. Okay, so remember for all the textual things, remember to wrap this with the double quotation mark. Okay, with that in mind, let's try to do exercise 6 together. 好啦，咁啊事不宜遲啦，咁我哋就終於可以開始咧講我哋今日嘅主菜啦 ，exercise 6. Okay, so let's try to do this together. So you open the file first. So you should open the file from from exercise 5 or exercise 4. So according to our tutorial notes, it says that we should start working with our exercise file 4 file. But if you do not have one of those, you can just feel free to use the exercise 5. It's all the same, except that we have 2 extra charts from exercise 5. 如果你見到佢話個 exercise 6咧，佢話你應該用翻 finish Excel file in exercise 4嘅，你見到呢句嘅。不過如果你係冇做到，即係你冇特別做完 exercise 4特別 save 嘅話咧，唔緊要，咁你用翻 exercise 5去做一模一樣嘅，只不過係多咗2個 graph 咁解啫。So the only difference is we have 2 extra charts here. So other things all the same. So you can use the exercise 5 to do this as well. 咁你可以用呢個 file 做啦，冇分別嘅，唔會扣你分嘅。Okay, so let's try to do step 1. First, we want to insert a row on the top of the heading months as row 2. So it means that we want a new blank row 2. In this case, remember that in our home tab, we have a function called the insert sheet rows. For insert sheet rows, when you click this button, there will be a row inserted just above the current selected cell. Because we want a new row here in row 2, so therefore you want to choose the cell in row 2 and then press insert and insert sheet rows. Insert sheet rows 係會喺你 currently select 咗嘅個 cell 上面度加多一個新嘅 row 嘅。因為你見到我哋嘅 instruction 上面話，我哋要喺第2行度加一個新嘅一行啦。咁所以你揀咗第2行嘅嗰個 cell 之後咧，就撳呢個 insert sheet rows 咧，咁佢會見到有一個新嘅第2行咧出咗嚟㗎咯噃。And then what you want to do is you add a value 25 in G2。咁佢話要喺 G2 度打25，咁你咪 G2 度打25咯。And then you should also do the add a label special monthly expense in cell crossing D2 to F2. Remember, we can use the merge and center button, right? So you merge the D2 and to F2 and then type special monthly expense. Doesn't matter if you type it first or type in D2 first and then merge the cells later, or you want to merge the cell first and type it later. Doesn't matter. 你可以 merge 咗 cell 之後先打啦，或者打完字之後先 merge cell，兩者都係一樣會做到我哋想呢度做到俾大家睇嘅效果嘅，一模一樣，冇分別嘅。So after that, you should see that in row 2 we have something like this: special monthly expense from D2 to F2, and then we have the 25 in G2 cells. Any questions here？ 做唔做到呢樣嘢？見唔見到 G2 25，跟住 D2 至呢度就打 special monthly expense 啦。Okay, and then this one is step 1, and then we want to type step 2. We should add a row just above total expense with a label special expense in the first cell. This one is the first part of the second row, okay, of the second step. 跟住我哋做嘅係喺嗰個叫做total expense 上面嗰度加多一個新嘅 row 叫做 special expense 嘅。好，咁我點做嘅咧？ So again, we use the same idea. We press the insert sheet rows. Because we want a new row just above total expense, so we click total expense and then press insert sheet rows. 咁因為 insert sheet rows 一定喺上面度加行新嘅，所以首先揀完 total expense 嗰一個啦，然後就撳 insert sheet rows， 咁佢上面度咧會加多個新嘅 row 出嚟嘅。And then you can just type special expense in this in the A cell of this row。咁你加咗個新嘅，應該會見到係第18行嗰度啦。咁你喺個位咧就打翻 special expense 啦。And then obviously I will want the special expense here to refer to our special monthly expense this number, right? I'll do a wrong demonstration first. 先做錯誤示範。咁我點樣去例如話我而家就用翻我哋以前學過嘅，我用 relative addressing 睇下發生咩事喎。I'll use the relative addressing, which is something wrong. You want to type in our A18 cell. A18 cell, we will type in equals G2 because G2 is where the special monthly expense is, right? So we type in equals G2. By the way, I put it here so in case you cannot see it much, going to see it clear. OK， 咁你喺 A18 嗰度咧，試下做呢個錯誤示範啦，就係打等於 G2。Wow, you can see the numbers works. It now displays 25. It's fine. But when you drag and drop or copy and paste across June, you will see that there is some problem. 當你 drag and drop 去到6月嘅時候咧，你發覺開始揦嘢啦。咦，點解得第一個 cell 有數字，但係當我 drag 落去後邊冇數字嘅咧 ？So again, you can investigate and see. So it seems like for each of the following cell, it will like move on, just like when you drag and drop, it moves from this G cell up to L cell, which is not what we want. 你見到如果我哋撳咗落去之後，咦，佢會原來跟住佢一齊 drag and drop 會轉喎。咁我哋點解決呢樣嘢咧 ？So according to our tutorial notes here, it wants us to use the mixed reference for the value of the special monthly expense in the second cell. So basically, when we want to do this kind of things, when we want to drag across the columns, we want the column to remain the same as in G column. So therefore, you want to do is you want to add in a $sign just before G, and it should look something like this. 好啦，咁呢個位要解釋下啦。咁佢話要我哋加個 mixed reference for the cell 嘛。好啦，咁我哋有兩款 mixed reference 喎。我哋有一款係喺個 row 前面加 reference 加個錢嘅符號啦，另一款係喺個 row 前面度加嗰個錢嘅符號嘅。應該邊款咧？因為咧，我哋而家喺呢度 drag and drop 嘅時候咧，係 across columns 嘅，我哋想嗰個 column keep 住唔轉，一落喺 G 嗰度，所以我哋應該將個錢嘅符號咧放喺 G 前面度先啱嘅。So because we want to freeze it at the column G when we drag it across columns, so therefore we want to put the $sign in front of G, like this. And then we can just copy and paste, and you can see that from January to June, is all displayed the 25 here in all this cells. So any questions here？ 做唔做到呢樣？當你打咗等於錢 G2之後咧，你 copy and paste 由1月 copy 去到6月咧，你應該會見到全部都寫咗等於25，全部都係寫25嘅。咁咧就做咗第二個 step 呢部分啦。有冇問題 So this is the step 2. All right, so like this one is the first. So this one actually we have also completed step 3 because step 3 we say that we copy the formula for this cell and paste it to the rest of the month. So we have also completed step 3 as well. 其實第3個 step 咧，呢度個份咧我哋都做咗㗎啦，因為咧我哋其實就頭先我 drag and drop 嘅時候咧已經做咗呢個叫 copy and paste 嘅動作㗎咯喎，所以咧第3個 step 我哋都做完啦，而家我哋做第4個 step 啦。Okay, so the 4th step is that the total expense now is not including our special expense, this new row. If you investigate our cells here, when you click into the formula in the total expense for January, you can see that we only have the advertising up to overhead. We do not have not include the special expense that we have just added. So therefore, in our case, we want to update the number, update the reference accordingly. 因為咧見到我加咗個新嘅 row 啦，我哋冇叫到 Excel 咧去計呢個 total expense 嘅時候咧，冇叫佢加埋落去嘅。咁所以我哋就要 update 翻個 formula 啦，就冇求令到佢變翻做應該計埋所有 special expense 嘅。So in our case, we want to change this formula from like B17 to up to B18。做嘅方法就係話由 B17將佢變翻到 B18啦，總之就係將個 special expense 啦都放埋落去 total expense 嘅計算嗰度。So after that, after change it from B17 to B18. And then press enter， 跟住就可以撳 enter 啦。Okay, so you can see that immediately this income gets updated together with the total expense as well. And then we can do the copy and paste again. 跟住我哋咧就要做 copy and paste 啦，因為我哋啱啱只係 update 咗1月嗰個啦，咁我哋1月至6月都 update 嘅，咁所以我哋咧就係用翻呢一招啦 ，copy and paste 簡單嘅法 ，drag and drop， so drag and drop。And then we can see that all the numbers here get updated, all the total expense and incomes those are updated here. 因為做到效果就係 total expense 啦，同埋 income 咧，全部數字咧都而家會轉咗嘅。咁我哋咧就啱啱做完咗第4個 step 啦，呢個 change the formula of total expense so that this item is included in calculation. So that note that the values of the cells of income will change accordingly. Alright, so we also want to do the step 5 as well. We want to insert a row under the income with a label net profit. 好啦，跟住咧第5個 step 咧，其實就係我覺得今個 exercise 裏面咧最難去解釋或者最難去present 出嚟嘅一個問題嚟嘅。咁就 step 5咧，因為 tricky， 不過 anyway 我做咗前面部分先，呢部分係比較簡單嘅。So we want to insert a new row under the column income。咁我哋話想要 income 下面加多一個 row 叫做 net profit。So what do we want to do? Just like what we've done before, insert sheet rows. We want a new row just under income, so we choose the blank row here and then press insert sheet rows because insert sheet rows will add in a new row above the current selected cell. 咁我哋就揀完個急嗰行咧，頭先應該係第22嗰行嗰度啦，然後就撳呢個 insert sheet rows。因為 insert sheet rows 一定喺上面度加行新嘅俾我哋嘅，咁所以我哋咧撳咗喺個急嗰行度撳嘅時候咧，佢就喺上面嗰度，即係 income 下面嗰度咧加多個新嘅行啦。咁我哋就可以喺呢個位度咧打 net profit 啦。So after you type net profit here, we want to. So this part is tricky because it does not very explain what kind of if that we should display here. It says we please use a function to show if there is a profit for each month. However, notice that for this part here, positive profit, yes. Negative profit, no. Neither positive nor negative, break even. But the problem is, for all the if functions that we have just introduced before, it seems like there could be only 2 outcomes, right? 2 outcomes. So what we want to do here, we want to have 2 if functions so that we can have 3 different outcomes. 佢嗰個角度咧寫得好隱晦，亦都係希望其實佢寫嘅時候 design 做係希望同學試下諗下，我哋點去做到有除咗 yes 除咗 true 同 false 之外，點解我哋可以有第3個 option 有 yes 有 no 之外，仲有 break even 嘅咧？點樣去做到呢樣嘢嘅咧？原來係因為我哋係要用2個 if 去做呢樣嘢啦。呢個所以點解我話今次呢一題咧，應該係咁無論 Access 或者 Excel 裏面可能係最難嘅一題啦，就係呢一個啦。咁原來發覺咧，啲 if 咧係可以有多過一個一齊用嘅。So there could be more than one if or other types of functions to be present in the same cell. So let's do this one. Okay, so in the B22 type in the following。OK， 咁我哋喺 B22個 cell 度咧就試下咁打啦。咁我會喺上面呢度打得清楚啲，俾大家睇得清楚啲啦。咁啊，如果同學咧有即係做緊個 Excel 嘅話，你直接打落去個 cell 就得㗎啦。So you can type in this cell directly in the B22 cell. Okay. Okay. So again, just like all the formulas, we must always start with an equal sign. 所有 formula 一定等於開始，所以先打等於啦。Okay. So there are 3 cases we have to handle: yes, no, and break even. And I'll do the break even first. However, if you want to do the yes first or you want to do the no first, doesn't matter. I just feel like if I do the break even first, it will be much clearer, and that's it. 點解我會做 break even 先咧？冇特別嘅，只係覺得睇得清楚啲咁解啫。咁但係如果同學話用同一個邏輯，然後可以整 yes 做 yes 先啊，或者做 no 先，其實都冇所謂嘅。咁我而家就做呢個啦。So first type in if and then open bracket. And then what you want to type in here is you want to type like B21 because their income for January is B21. If this one equals 0, then you want to display break even。因為咧，我而家呢格裏面要揾嘅係 B21個 cell， 佢係咪等於0啊？咦，等於0嘅話，我就應該 display 咩？就應該 display break even 喎。咁所以咧就係 break B21 equals 0 and then comma break even。But remember, for this kind of words, we have to add in the double quotation mark。但係因為一串字嚟嘅，所以打完，所以咧其實一定要有 double quotation mark 包住 break even 啦。And then otherwise, then what we want to do here is， 咁如果唔係 break even 啊，咁我哋要點做咧 ？Then we can add in the second if part. So after that, type in a comma, and then we can type the second if. Because I do not have space in my notepad here, so I will have to break into a second line. But in your case, in your own computers, you do not have this kind of problem, so you can just type it directly, okay? 因為呢個位我唔夠位，我先打落去下一行啫。咁但係喺你做緊嘅嗰個 file 度咧，你應該個 Excel 應該係有位嘅。咁你唔使好似我咁打落多行落去 Enter 就唔使嘅。咁你直接打落去得㗎啦。And then you want to type in like another if. If this time you want to see if B21 is larger than 0. 咁我睇下 B21係咪大過0啦。So if B21 is larger than 0, then you want to type yes. Again, remember to wrap the yes with the double quotation mark. 咁記住啦，好似頭先我 break even 咁樣啦，字串類嘅東西一定要有雙引號包住佢嘅，咁先得㗎啦。And then in another case, in the third part of this if statement, then we want to type in no, and again double quotation mark. And after this if statement, remember to close the bracket. And there should be 2 brackets that you will close, so that this one is one set, this other one is another set. Okay? 記住打完咗之後咧，應該小心啲括號，應該會有2個開括號，2個閂括號嘅，咁樣先啱啦，先匹配啦。你會見到，咦，第二個 if statement 咧會係寫住咁樣，有個開括號喺呢度，有閂括喺呢度嘅。咁最大嗰個括號，最大嗰個 if 咧會有個開括喺呢度啦，有閂括喺最尾嘅，所以成段最尾會有2個閂括弧啦。呢個係正常嘅，記住一開就要閂咁樣啦，開完就一定要閂咗佢咁樣啦。So this one is the final if statement that we should, final formula that we should type in the B22 cell. So let's try to type this here. After you type it here in our cell, then you can just press enter. 打完個 cell， 打完呢啲咁嘅 formula 之後咧，跟住你可以撳 enter 啦，咁啊 enter 啦。Then you should display to see that in January, you should see no in the net profit part. And then you can just copy and paste across to June. And you should be able to see that there should be 3 no's and 3 yeses. 做完咗應該做得啱嘅話咧，會有3個 no、3個 yes 嘅。1月至3月係 no 啦，跟住4月至6月咧係 yes 嘅。In case if you want to see that what happens when you have a 0 somewhere, when you change one of the cells on the income to 0, you should be able to see there is a break even in the net profit. Then you are doing the right thing. 好啦，呢個就純粹一個 demonstration 啫，就係如果你做得啱嘅話咧，當你其中一個 income 嗰度將佢變咗個0嘅話咧，你會見到 net profit 嗰度咧就唔係 yes 唔係 no， 今次係 break even 啦，咁呢個咧就做到我哋嘅效果咯喎。So after you confirm that this works, you want to undo it， 咁咪確定咗呢個 work 啦，咁你再 undo 佢啦，咁咪變翻做 no 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 yes 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 咁就得啦。So this one is the hardest things But I think this one is the hardest things in throughout our tutorial journeys. So any questions？呢個可能係我哋成個tutorial 裏面咧，可能係最難嘅一樣嘢嚟嘅，我覺得。So to break it down, if B21 equals 0, then it will return the first part. 我頭先講啦，話其實我哋啲 if statement 咧係咁樣運作嘅。如果第一個嗰個係啱嘅話咧，係 true 嘅話咧，佢就會 return 第二嚿嘢出嚟。如果第一個嘢唔係啱嘅話，係 false 嘅話咧，就會 return 第三嚿嘢啦。咁呢度第二嚿嘢同第三嚿嘢喺邊度咧？ So in this case, the first if, this one is the test. This one is the value if true. This one is the value if false. 咁所以咧就係會見到，如果 B21係 true 就出咗 break even 啦。如果 B21唔係 true 啦，就會係第二個 if statement 啦。呢個咧就係 value if false 啦，第一個 if 嘅。咁入到嚟呢度咧就係呢個 case 啦，就係呢個 if 就係 check 下佢係咪 B21係咪大過0先，係喎，咁啊 yes 咯，唔係喎，咁啊 no 咯。呢個咧就係第二個 if statement 啦。So any questions here regarding this particular step 5? So if there are no further questions here, I will also do the demonstration on the tracing formulas. And then we will call it a day. And if you have any further questions, you may ask in the classroom or type in the chat room. And otherwise, it's the end of the class and we will see you next Tuesday, OK? 咁我哋要做埋最後一個 demonstration 啦，咁就係做呢個 tracing formula demonstration。咁做完咗之後咧，咁如果同學就冇問題咧，就交上 Moodle 咧就可以㗎啦。咁如果有問題嘅，就可以留低問啦，或者 chat room 問啦，咁我見得到都會解答你問題嘅。好，咁我先做咗呢一個 tracing formula 先。So when it's useful when you display the tracing formula is that when you want to see what kind of numbers contribute to this cell and what this cell is contributing to other cells, and this is what is meant by tracing formulas. Tracing formula 簡單講法就係話睇下呢個 cell 嘅數字嚟自邊度，呢個就叫 tracing formula 啦。佢都可以 trace 到就話呢個 cell 嘅數字之後會落去俾邊幾個 cell 用 tracing formula。咁我試下做呢樣嘢咯。So I will do here as a demonstration, I will use the income cell in B21 as a demonstration. 咁我呢度做嘅示範咧，會用呢個 B21呢個 cell 啦做呢個 demonstration 嘅。So if you want to try, you may want to follow along as well. Press formula, go to formula tab, and then there is a trace precedence. 咁咧可以有一個我揀完個 income 嗰個嘅cell 啦，跟住我就撳呢個叫 trace precedence 嘅東西啦。撳完落去之後， so after you press this trace precedence, and then you can see that there is new arrow there. You can see that we have a total cells. There is a dot nearby, and also the total expense will also have a dot and blue dot there. And there is an arrow pointing to income. This means that total sales and total expense, these two contribute to the income part. 即係話咧，原來我撳咗下咧，佢就會 display， 咦，原來 total sales、total expense 咧都會 contribute 咗落去 income 嘅計算喎。Then let's try to click it once more. 咁我再撳多次咯。And then we'll go even further, so you will see that which numbers contribute to the total expense. So in our case here, these two contribute to total sales, these two contribute to total expense. OK， 咁再撳多次咧，佢就會再追根溯源下啦。咁就再睇下，咦呢兩個 total sales、total expense 呢兩個 cell 個數字點嚟嘅咧？哦，原來撳入去，哦就係嚟自呢兩格喎，咁樣有得解釋嘅。There's also another button called the trace dependence. So this trace dependence means that to see which cell is using this kind of number to calculate. OK， 咁仲有另一款 trace dependence 啦，就係追溯佢之後會有咩 cell 會用到呢個數字嘅。咁你撳一次落去啦。And then you can see that the net profit, we have an arrow pointing from income to net profit and also from income to profit margin. This means that the income cell here contributes value to net profit and profit margin here. 撳咗落去之後，再發覺，咦 income 有一個箭嘴指去 net profit， 同埋 income 有個箭嘴指去 profit margin 啦，即係話 income 呢個數字咧係會影響到 net profit 同埋 profit margin 一樣嘢咯。So after you know all of this thing, you can just remove the arrow and that's the end. OK， 咁你發覺，咦原來啲數字即係出晒 arrow 啦。好啦，咁我想唔睇呢啲咁點撳啊？就撳 remove arrows 咯。咁啲 arrows 咧就從此消失咗啦。So any questions here？ 有冇問題關於我哋呢一部分嘅 tracing formula？ Any questions? Okay, so if there are no further questions, you may save the file and upload to Moodle. The deadline for this file, the submission for this file is next Friday. And if there are no further questions, I will see you next Tuesday in our lecture section where we will try to end our discussions on AI。咁我哋冇問題嘅話咧，咁我哋就下個星期二咧就喺 online lecture 上去見各位啦。咁我哋會嘗試完咗 AI 嘅討論嘅。Okay, so if you have questions, raise your hand or type in the chat room. If no, that's the end of the class. Okay, thank you.